Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you guys are doing amazing. Welcome back to our last episode in this series where we're going to talk a little bit about why you should include this adhkar in your daily routine. So we talked a lot about the remembrance of Allah, doing dhikr, adhkar. We talked about some amazing stories. We talked about different things in this series, and I just kind of want to summarize it on a little bit on why you should include adhkar in your daily routine, right? So we've been prescribed to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is dhikr at all times, right? And while this command is general, there are instances where the Prophet, peace be upon him, prescribed specific adhkar for specific moments, and these include supplications, remembrance to be recited in the morning and evening, and some after the fard prayer and before sleeping. So these are three key benefits of why you should take that initiative to include them in your daily schedule. Fun fact, by the way, if you're looking for adhkars of what you're supposed to read in the morning and the evening, different adhkars are just good for you to read before sleeping, prayer, after prayer, and you're just looking for different ways to get lots of rewards. I've linked a book in my bio. Click on the Islamic feelings bio, then scroll down and you'll see this tab that says resources. Click that and you'll see that I have linked books that talk about God and like different ways to get more reward, and basically just a lot of the stuff that I talked about in this series. It is covered very nicely in those books. But three things that I kind of want to touch base on and why you should include this in your daily schedule, and also as a summary, because I think that this will be a nice overall wrap to the series. The very first thing I want to talk about generally really is this is all to bring you closer to Allah, right? These daily adhkar, all these things that we've been talking about in these past few series, right? This is all to help you reaffirm your tawheed daily, keep you close to Allah daily, remind you of Allah, have this contemplation, this conversation with God, these reflections. It's to wake you up more to, being focused in this relationship with God and having this deep contemplation with God, as we mentioned some of these other episodes. This always reminds, a believer to accept his own weakness and remain in awe of Allah, regardless of whatever phrase it might be, right? You're praising Allah, alhamdulillah, you got this because of Allah's sake. You're asking for forgiveness for your past, astaghfirullah, whatever it might be. God is the one that forgives you. And no matter what statement it might be, no matter what adhkar it might be, no matter what you're caught up in, no matter how or what you're doing, being in conversation and constantly thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps you become more closer to Him. This is what helps you make those better decisions in your life. A lot of times people make bad decisions and they're like, well, I wasn't really thinking about what Islam says in mind in this moment. I wasn't really thinking about Allah in this moment. And constantly remembering Allah is what will help you get to that point. Constantly doing those adhkars, doing those dhikrs, and even just sitting alone in isolation sometimes and thinking about Allah and thinking about who He is and thinking about what He can do for you will genuinely help that. If you're also somebody who tends to commit sins and then you regret it, a lot of times before we commit a sin, Shaitan tells us that Allah's mercy is very vast and is very wide, so commit the sin, He'll forgive you. Then after you commit the sin, Shaitan tells you that Allah's mercy is not big enough for you, so don't bother repenting. And it's a trap. It's a trap both ways. Do not ever take advantage of Allah's mercy, and do not ever think that Allah won't forgive you. Both ways it's a trap. When you think that Allah's mercy is so big, I'm going to do whatever I want, He's going to forgive me anyway. You're taking advantage of that, and you think that you are outsmarting Allah. You are not. He's very well aware of your intentions. And when you believe that you are too sinful to be forgiven by Allah, so you're going to continue to go on to your own ways, this is also a trap, because Allah's mercy encompasses all things. Allah's mercy is talked about relentlessly, endlessly, and Allah's mercy is always there. There's no reason for you to feel like He won't forgive you. There's no reason for you to feel like forgiveness is not an option for you, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has extensively, even in the Quran, talked about how He is the most forgiving. Number two, of course, we want to earn, immeasurable rewards. By uttering a few yet of these powerful statements, you can amass unimaginable rewards. Reading the Sunnah adhkar at the prescribed times in the day is an easy deed, which does not take time but can transform your life. And of course, all of this as a whole protects you from evil. The Sunnah adhkar, in particular the morning and evening, will protect you from harm, illness, anxiety, grief, depression, devils, evil eye, and magic. You'll get a peace and contentment in your life and have more resolve to deal with difficulties. Another beautiful quote that I want to mention in this episode would be this quote that goes among the lines of, anyone who does not hold fast to his worship and daily remembrance in accordance to the prophetic sunnah will regret, become monastic, and his temperament will become unsavory. He will miss out on great goodness from the following teachings of the Prophet, who is kind and merciful to the believers, concerned for that which benefits them. And I think that that's really beautiful to mention, because we have so many hadiths that narrate how beautiful and how deeply all of these things can help you. And if you choose to not do them, you choose to neglect these things, this is ultimately going to be a regret on your end. And I can confirm to you myself, the Sunnah morning and evening adhkars, they change your life. They change your life. Coming from someone who has done them, if you know me, you know I am a mishap. I've always had such crazy things going on, and reading the morning and evening adhkars really helped me in my life and just helped me get that resolve to deal with difficulties and whatever it might be. Like, it doesn't say your problems are just gonna stop, but it definitely helps. It definitely helps. And like we said, it protects you from harm, illness, anxiety, grief, depression, devils, evil mind, magic, whatever it might be. It's such an easy solution, and I think that that's so important to say, because so many times, I've talked to people that are like, oh, I think I have black magic done on me. I think I have evil eye. I think I have this. I think I have that. Do you read your morning and evening adhkars? No, I don't. I was like, well, why don't you read them? Well, I don't really think that's going to work against this. I've genuinely had this conversation with people. It's kind of crazy, because it's like these morning and evening adhkars, these are so powerful, and especially when we're told that these things will help you and then you're coming around deciding that's not going to help you. I've noticed that a lot of times when people complain about evil eye and things among that nature, if you ask them, do you read your adhkars? A lot of times the answer will be no. If no, why? Because I don't think it's gonna work. And it's so insane to say that. It's insane, astaghfirullah, it's insane to say such things about such powerful words and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can change your life through these beautiful sunnat adhkars, through just these beautiful ways. And you're missing out. You're missing out. All in all, I know that this series I think it was kind of different than my usual episodes. I don't know. Please let me know what you guys thought about this series. The series was a lot more focused in on one topic as compared to, if you listen to me, usually I talk about a bunch of stuff in like one episode. It's a lot more different. But this series in particular is a lot more focused down on one thing. So let me know how y'all like this series. If I said anything wrong, which I guarantee I did, may Allah forgive me. I tried my best to convey all the information. I tried my best to make sure I shared everything correctly, whatever it might be. And if I said anything wrong, may Allah forgive me, because I am a human and I promise I do make mistakes. So may Allah forgive me for any mistakes that I've made. I hope that you guys benefited from this series in some way, and I hope that you decide to make, these morning and evening adhkars and just generally the remembrance of Allah a very constant thing in your life, because I can tell you from someone who's been there, done that, I've seen that bringing the remembrance of Allah in my life and having the morning and evening adhkars and being consistent with those things really does change your life. I cannot put it enough. I remember that my life really significantly started to change. I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago in Ramadan, when I decided to try to do dhikr. And I tried my best to be consistent with it that Ramadan. And then after that, it was like a series of my life changed. It was like guilt. It was like, drop this, don't do this. Let's change this. Let's start doing this. I want to do more voluntary acts. I want to do more this. I want to do more that. And I cannot make this stuff up. I remember when I first became consistent with dhikr and adhkars and whatever, I printed it out and I highlighted them and I put them in my drawer. And I was like, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to do this every day. This was a few years ago. And then I started doing them every day. And alhamdulillah, Allah has allowed me to not leave them, and I've seen my life change significantly by them. And one of the big reasons why I started doing dhikr and adhkars or whatever it might be, obviously I wanted that reward. I was just like everybody else. You have a lot of sins, you mess up a lot, and you want a way to fix your wrongs, you want a way to become a better Muslim. And these dhikrs and just tasbih, whatever it might be, like, it's so easy, and it's an amazing way to get so much reward. Not only that, there's so much contemplation and reflection that goes into it. It really helps you become more self-aware about your life and the sacrifices and the things that you can give up and put in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to become a better Muslim. Things that you might never be guilty usually for doing, you might start to feel yourself guilty for doing. Things that you thought were okay, you might start to understand why they're not okay or why Islam forbade them. If you are in haram, you might start to understand that perhaps this is not something that I should have done, and maybe it'll make it easier for you to get that transition of moving out. So having this constant mindfulness of Allah as a whole, being in dialogue with Allah, remembering Allah while you're doing the little things in your life, going to the store, coming home, going shopping, whatever it might be, before you pray, after you pray, just remembering Allah and having that mindfulness that Allah is watching me. So what decision am I going to make? Allah is watching me. He's watching me do these adhkars. He's watching me do this tasbih. He's watching me glorify Him. And when I'm glorifying somebody who can solve and handle all my problems, He can handle everything, then there's nothing for me to worry about. There's nothing for me to have grief or anxiety about, and it gives you the sense of contentment that is unmatched and unexplainable. If you like this series and you want to see more adhkars and you want to see more different things that can benefit you, the morning and evening ones are linked in my bio on my link that's everywhere, my islamicfeelings.com link. Just click it, click resources, and you'll see I have the morning and evening adhkars linked everywhere. There's a bunch of other amazing adhkars that you can find on that same website where I've linked the morning and evening adhkars. So truly take that time to invest your life in this area, because a lot of times we overlook adhkars, we overlook, tasbih, we overlook doing these things, but these things have such great reward and it is so good for you. Inshallah, here, I hope you guys liked this episode. Have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum.